Number 3, consideration and approval intergovernmental agreement with DeKalb County Schools and DeKalb Board of Education for the sale of approximately 10.06 acres in the land lot 236 and land lot 243 of the 18th District of DeKalb County for the acquisition of approximately 4.174 acres of land in the same lots of the 18th Districts of DeKalb County, and the receipt from DeKalb County School District and Board of Education of $4,747,562.25. Chris.
Councilman Madison?
Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
just because of while I have been cleared on the legal ruling that there's no conflict of interest, in light of the perceived conflict of interest, I will continue to recuse myself on this matter involving Skyland property. Thanks.
Thank you. Chris.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an intergovernmental agreement between the DeKalb County Board of Education and the city, and involves a swap of land this school district is purchasing from the state of Georgia through an intergovernmental sale, by private sale and not by bid proposal, the Skyland Center, which had been previously considered by the city of Brookhaven and ultimately rejected. The building and dirt on which the Skyland Center currently sits will ultimately be transferred after the school district buys it from the state. They'll transfer it to the city, and in exchange for our receipt of that property, the city is transferring what is the current Skyland Park property to the school district. In exchange for that, in addition to that physical swap of land, the city is also receiving a cash payment of $4,747,000 and change. The scope of this deal, that $4.7 million involves the demolition of the Skyland Center and the construction of the planned park. Basically, we're getting the same program facilities and opportunities in the new park that we had planned in the master plan for the larger Skyland property. And the Parks Director will speak to those programs in a moment. In addition to the construction of the park, the city is also receiving additional funds that it can use for acquisition of other green space, for the improvement of existing parks, or as it chooses. And one of the things that has been added to the agenda in item 4 is a resolution of the council for how the council intends those excess funds to be used. As the council knows, the Open Meetings Act allows certain exceptions to what has to be done in the public eye. Among those, and chief among those, besides litigation and the receipt of attorney-client communications, is property acquisition. So the council exercised its rights under the Open Meetings Act to conduct its meetings and its consideration of this deal in closed executive session, as it is allowed to do. What happens with the construction of the dirt and the building of a school, once the school district owns it, is the school's decision, not the city's. The school is its own sovereign. The school is a creature of the state, just like the city of Brookhaven is a creature of the state. And what the school district has decided is that this is one of the very few open tracts of property available to it in the Region 1 of its district, where it can start to alleviate the overcrowding issues that it is experiencing in its primary schools throughout the district. But as I said, that's all school district policy choices and school district decisions. The question for the council tonight is simply whether to agree to approve this intergovernmental agreement that's already been voted on and approved by the school district, to swap these pieces of land to obtain the construction of a new park free and clear, without the use of any other obligated funds or any other obligated investitures, or the seeking of indebtedness through referendum or through some other lending device, plus the additional $2.3 million of money that you can use to buy green space elsewhere in the city. That's your choice. The comments and concerns of the community about just learning about this is part of governance. We live in a representative republic and a representative democracy. This is not ancient Athens where we have direct participation. And the reason that you each were elected was to provide the voice of the people and to make decisions for the citizens of this city in your representative capacities. And that sounds like pontificating. I apologize, but it's simply the history as I understand it. The question for this deal is how you want to use this park and how you want to develop the park, and that is your policy decision. And I'll turn it over to the Parks Director for further comment about the programming and things that are available from this transaction.
Thank you, Chris. Mayor, members of council. With this park, we've had to scale down what we were going to do with Skyland originally. We've gone from 10 acres down to almost 5 acres, but we've managed, working with our consultants at Greenberg Farrell, to manage to get in all of the concepts that we were looking to try to put in our park, minus the tennis courts on the original plan. We've got the nature trails, we've got the dog park, the large and small dog park, the multi-use field, which the stakeholders were very adamant about they wanted. We've got the playgrounds for the kids. We have parking to where you're not having to park along the road. There's actually dedicated parking inside the park. We have picnic shelters that the groups will be able to use, as well as part of the park on the west side. Granted, the school will have control of that, but during non-school hours, the public will be able to access that nature trail along the west side of the property as part of the park. So we've managed to, with the help of our consultants, to get everything we've wanted in our park, in the original master plan, into this smaller, downsized version. Hopefully, with us being able to move forward, this will be one of the early ones we can get done. Hopefully by mid-year 2017, July 2017, we will have this park online, as well as several other of our new parks as we continue to complete our master plan moving forward.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add one more piece. The agreement provides that the construction on the new park will begin and be completed before dirt is turned on the new school. So we will not lose park time, assuming we can meet all of our construction deadlines with the construction of these parks. We will go from having the old Skyland Park to the new Skyland Park before the school district starts construction on their school.
Any questions? Anything else? Questions? If you don't have one.
Go ahead, you go
Okay.
first.
Talk to me about the shared use aspect in the agreement.
There's a number of shared use aspects to this. There is, during off-school time and hours, the public has access to the parking areas at the school for purposes of accessing the park. As the Parks Director suggested, there's a nature trail that's along a stream draw to the western edge of the property that is being built by the school system that will be used for school purposes and science purposes during school hours, but as soon as school is out, then the gates will be open, and anybody who wants to can use that trail along the western edge of the property. The design of the project has the parent drop-off and the buses entering and exiting in different areas of the school so they don't overlap or interfere with each other, which should help with the traffic flow. And we also, because the new park is uphill from the school system, we have a stormwater easement with the school system, and we'll be able to utilize their underground stormwater detention facilities for any runoff from the park as it goes down this natural draw towards the lower elevations of this neighborhood. There is also a right of first refusal as part of this, that for the next, I believe it's 50 years in the agreement, any school district property that is deemed abandoned and surplus to the school district that is in the current city limits of Brookhaven, the city will have a right of first refusal to purchase that property to put it to municipal purposes. So those are the key shared use and other provisions of the agreement.
Lindley?
I'd like to confirm some information I've been given. Is it correct that the Board of Education did not approve the purchase of this property until last night?
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
Is it correct that the state has put a deadline on this deal of approval by the end of this week?
The state's deadline was a May 15 deadline for there to be an IGA between the city and the school district so that they would know they had a committed buyer who was going to actually go forward with the deal. The city spent the better part of 10 months last year trying to decide whether to purchase this building or not, and the state wanted a harder and faster deadline this time around with the school district. So yes, the short answer to your question is we had to have this agreement done by Friday in order for this deal to go forward at all.
And am I correct that in the absence of the participation of the city and in the absence of the IGA, the state of Georgia could still sell this property to the DeKalb Board of Education for a school?
That's correct. The problem with that plan is the property that the state would be selling is not large enough on the current requirements for school programming in order to meet the accreditation standards for primary education. So yes, they could sell it to the school district. They could potentially rehab that existing building and turn it into a school on a smaller plan, but it would not be adequate for their purposes as allowed by the current land swap. I would also suggest to you, Councilmember Jones, that if this deal did not go forward, then the Skyland Center would be put out to bid, and anybody and everybody who wanted to bid on it could bid on it for whatever purpose that they wanted to use it for.
Private sale to any corporate entity?
That's correct, and it's currently zoned commercial, so that tract of land could be used in its current zoning for anything that would be allowable under a C1 zoning classification without having to come to the council for any kind of rezoning or reallocation of use. So by swapping it and turning it into a school and a park, we've probably got the best solution available given the extant zoning and the state's desire to get rid of this property.
Ben, can you confirm that it's zoned commercial?
Ben's always double checking my data.
Actually, it's actually zone residential as it currently stands, R75.
That was my
My
understanding.
apologies.
But the potential is always there for redevelopment, as Chris has mentioned.
All right.
Joe?
I just want to make a couple of comments, more so than ask questions. First, I will ask a question to you first, Chris, just to reiterate.
Yes, sir.
Sale price is $4,747,000.
Plus the land swap, yes, sir.
Okay. Less the cost of the demolition and the build of the new park, demolition of the building, and then there's a net positive to the city of approximately $2.4 million?
That's generally correct, yes, sir.
So for $2.4 million cash, we already get a completed park that we had budgeted money aside separately. And now we don't need to spend that money. We'll get the completed park according to the master plan and still have the $2.4 million. Correct? Okay, so just wanted to clarify.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is a comment basically for the folks back here and for the folks who may have felt that there was not ample time to react to this. I think Chris really hit it on the head in the beginning when he talked about governance and the things that approach us and the things that we have to contend with. This is not just a Brookhaven issue. This is a regional issue. We all have our concerns about the educational system in DeKalb County. We've spoken about it loudly. We've tried to take action as a city council to try and impact where we can. And that was part of that was our initiation in moving forward with a charter school, which we now have nothing to do with. It's now established and moving on. But that was an attempt to try and address the educational issue. What the school board had agreed to do was to build 4 new schools in this area. It's going to be I think it's 1 elementary, 2 middle, and 1 high school. So the biggest problem with the school board right now is land, where to put these. So this Skyland property, when we didn't buy it as a city, became a prime opportunity. And as far as a regional plan goes, it's strategic in what it does for the overall educational system in this whole Region 1. So it goes beyond just being neighborhood-centric, even though I know those are the points that you're focused on, and I would be too if I was you, but we as a council have to look at this from a much bigger scale. So this is not a conversation, I'm sorry, this is just my comment time here. So when this school is built, it's going to be a state-of-the-art school. It's going to be the newest school in DeKalb County. And we do have an overcrowding, and it's going to take 4 schools to address that. This is the first step in that direction. Now, I know that you probably won't find that very comforting, but it's the fact. And we, as leaders in this city, have to take the steps to think about what we're doing, not only from a city perspective, which will help us within our own city and the problems that we have at overcrowding of the schools here, but from a regional perspective. And I wanted to share that thought process with you of what we have to contend with. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Any other comments? Discussions? So I will take a motion if there's no more comments.
I will make the motion. Do I need to read it in full?
No.
Drat. No, sir, all you need to do is move to approve the IGAs identified in the agenda.
Okay. I am going to move that council approve the IGA as outlined in the agenda under new business point number 3.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? You want to,
I've made my comments.
Lindley?
Yes. For a very long time, there has been tremendous concern among those of us in your city government about the Skyland building, about what would become of that property because the state's moving out. I have personally been deeply concerned for a very long time about that very thing. We've spoken about this before. Y'all may be familiar with my votes on this before. I have done everything in my power to protect Brookhaven, to protect your community, because the state is moving out of Skyland. If we don't do something where we can participate, the state would sell it privately, and we would not have the same privilege of participation. Because the state chose at this point to sell it to the DeKalb County Board of Education, we had the leverage to do this on terms that will benefit your community, to get Skyland Park as a priority park, to get it funded, to get it built, probably faster than any other park because the money's coming from a separate source, although we're working hard on all our parks, as you know. And so I don't see a better outcome, and it's time limited. And if I voted no, I'm afraid that that would be a vote to put it in the hands of private developers and lose all leverage that we have to determine the future. So I can't do that. And I'm hopeful that you will see that I will cast my vote with your best interest at heart and those of all Brookhaven citizens, but your best interests at heart. I am not a member of the Board of Education. While I care about the education of our children, my loyalty is to the citizens of Brookhaven and to our neighborhoods. And that's what I've been elected to represent. So I just wanted to say that. We are time limited. As you heard from our lawyer, real estate transactions for city council members are very difficult because they can't be done in sunshine oftentimes in the same way that other transactions can be. This city has personally dealt with the ramifications of not trying to act quickly, expeditiously, and confidentially in the best interests of citizens on real estate transactions, because the nature of real estate transactions is that they tend to be time limited, expire quickly. That's the situation here. So I just wanted to share that with you.
When this was brought to me, I would have to say a month into my term as mayor, we quickly convened a task force, basically myself, Joe Gabbia, Chris, and Brian, to to hear the school system out. We did initially come in and said, what would be the most beneficial for all of the city, also concerning how the Cross Keys district is a regional problem. We came up with a list of stuff that we wanted from the school system what would we want from the school system. We presented that list. They gave us everything that we asked for. The price of the land itself, the difference between the two prices of land is $2.4 million. We got an extra $2.3 million to build, but we said, Joe, myself, immediately said, we'd only do this if we have a Skyland Park fully built out immediately. We have shared use of that park and the school land after hours. And while we were hoping for an announcement and again, short-term time frame that we would have had public comment, the deadlines became such that it was impossible. This, in the end, has nothing to do with redistricting. The school is stated in their announcement, what they stated to us, that this would be used immediately for the overcrowding issues in the Cross Keys areas, Montclair and Dresden especially. What the school system does in redistricting is what the school system is going to do with redistricting, whether we approve this or not. Our whole area, this whole District 1 area, is going to be redistricted by the school system in the next few years. They have stated that multiple times. It is not for us as city council we don't have any input on that other than what you guys input out there in the community are. But it's going to happen whether we approve this school or not, or approve this deal or not. It will be the first school built in the Brookhaven area since the earliest I've seen is the early 70s. When everything turns out, I believe it's going to be a great building and a pillar for our community. But in the end, we are dealt with the facts that we have, and we have to make decisions. And that's what I was elected to do. And I knew that I'll disappoint people when I make decisions. That's the nature of making decisions. I truly understand the concerns that have been raised. I would also state that the advocates of stuff like this or other things need to also start speaking out, because I'm tired of people talking to me privately in support of things and then not coming out publicly. But in the end, this is a great deal for the school, for the city. We get $2.4 million to acquire more green space, which we are actively trying to do. We get $2.3 million to completely build Skyland Park to the programming and to the high level, and be done as quick as possible and done before the school's done. So that's where my vote's going to go. That being said, any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's approved. Okay, next, the DeKalb earmark, or what was the item 4?
the earmark of the funds
Earmark.
from the IGA.
Correct.
To place any and all excess funds from this IGA with the DeKalb Board of Education in a segregated account within the city of Brookhaven to be used solely for improvements to existing parks or the acquisition of new and additional green space.
Is that the motion, Councilmember Jones?
I didn't know if there was conversation before the motion, but I'll make the motion, sure.
I second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Well, this just ensures that this money is going to be used to stay within the park system and not to be used to better a park, but to make sure that we're enhancing our park system and add space when and where available.
Yep, I agree. This is the commitment that we as, this is the vote to commit what we had said we were going to do on council with this money, where 2.4 would be green space acquisition, and the 2.3 would be going to the improvement of the new Skyland Park.
Yes, this makes our commitment official.
That being said, there was a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
What's the motion on the floor?
The motion on the floor is to with the newly approved $4.7 million to put in a separate fund for green space acquisition and.
It's same transaction, so I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay.
We'll keep it.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 5 is, again, the host fix motion.
All right. I move that the budget of the city of Brookhaven be amended to allocate $1,393,222 from host reserves to fund projects previously approved by council.
I second.
Is there any discussion? This is a fix that we've discovered in our work session, that we had unfunded mandates basically in our host budget. This for improvements of sidewalks and paving and such, and this fixes that. Okay, is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
3-0. Other business, public comment.
Ronnie
And if you have
Mayer.
more public comment, you can put cards in and bring them.
Ronnie Mayer's first.
Glad to see you back up here, Bates, so when I trash everybody, I can trash you too. For shame on y'all. For shame on y'all. Selling out our city. I was Brookhaven before any of your thoughts of being here in Brookhaven. When Ashford Park had all the Section 8 housing from the town of Brookhaven, we fought and fought and fought to clean it up. Look at the tax values of these houses here. Y'all just shot it right in the rear end. Not you, and you got that little smile about you, Bates. You did a disservice. I don't care about regional. We care about Brookhaven. And y'all just sold out for $2 million. For shame on every one of you. For shame on you with the fire station, because that was a personal feeling you had. And now DeKalb County has pulled the spoils from all the fire stations. It's done because of what you said. You didn't want a fire station in your backyard. Y'all just sold out all of Ashford Park for $2 million for a park property. I know 2 developers right now that would buy that school and either turn into houses, townhomes, and a park, and a swim tennis for Brookhaven. And for y'all to say that you ain't found nobody, that you're worried, y'all just, I can't believe, I've been here for a long time, and this just makes my blood boil that y'all just sold us out. No thinking, no talking. Everybody lives around there, and they're right. School buses everywhere. Where you gonna put these buses at? And you just sold all the hard work that me and all these other people have done for Brookhaven before it was a city of Brookhaven. Just gone, just shot all the gone, because y'all business people, y'all need to be running like a business instead of you just sold the whole city out. Thank you.
Kim Goki.
Yeah, you do have to turn in another sheet.
Yes, I need.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Kim Roach. I live at 1955 Fairway Circle, and I rise in support of your decisions this evening. This decision, or series of decisions you made tonight, are generational. I'm going to say it again. These are decisions of a generational consequence for the city of Brookhaven, for our residents. I think that Ronnie Mayer, my friend, longtime neighbor and friend, has some really important points he made. But I respected his comments and didn't interrupt him. But what I wanted to say was, well, where would those children go that'll move into that swim and tennis club? There's no room for the children in any of our schools, none. So while I understand the concerns that are raised by my neighbors and friends in this room and throughout the community, we have to have public schools with seats. For those who don't know, our current schools are all, not some, all over capacity. Our current schools, all, not some, have trailers. My son spent his entire second grade in a trailer. And with all due respect to the parents of future public school students, it's not about our kids. It's about public education in this city. I'm a parent. I care about my kid. Every parent should and has to be the first responsible party for that child. But this council has a broader responsibility to thousands of children and thousands of parents. So I want to applaud you for the decision you're making. This is sudden. I wasn't sure if I would make a statement this evening because I didn't know what you were going to do. And when I heard the agenda item and then the follow-up agenda item added this evening, I thought, well, here we go. So thank you for that courage that it takes to make progress in our community. My understanding is, if I heard staff correctly, is that the park will be operational next summer. You are not the school board, but I work with the school board and representatives for over a decade. My guess is there's no school operating there for 3 years-ish. In 3 years, we don't know what that situation is going to be, but we know we're going to need seats. We have to have seats. So I just ask my neighbors and friends here to consider where the children are going to go. This is a great opportunity for Brookhaven. I think you seized it. I think that once people that are as caring and as compassionate as these people clearly are about their neighbors, their families, and their neighborhood, once they see the context for this decision, I think they're going to win them over. I really do. I don't think there's a full view of what was done to prepare you for this decision, what will be done as a result of this decision. So we don't know. We're going to find out together. But I just wanted to commend you for the courage it took to take a vote on a pretty controversial subject. I've worked with public education advocacy for a decade. You want to talk about the most hateful topic in our body politic? It's public education. So kudos to you for tiptoeing twice into this area in service of your constituents and in the service of the city of Brookhaven. So thank you.
Terrell Karstens.
Carol Carstens, Usnella Drive. I just want to bring up something from the work session. The discussion of the proposed complete streets ordinance to implement the bike ped plan. Y'all had agreed that there'd be, reach out to the community to participate in this. Bates, you made a comment about taking it to Bike Atlanta. I just want to reiterate and make sure that the discussion comes to all of the citizens, not just specific groups involved in the bike ped plan, but to all of us to have input on it. Thank you.
Benita Singh.
I just want to say that it felt like the decision was already made before we walked in here, so I don't know why we did this dummy representation as if you all listened to us. So you shouldn't have even done this. This was a really false hope, and you didn't make any change. You didn't make any consideration to what we have done or what we think. You know, you say that you care about our children. I don't think so, because my children is now going to be forced to go to this new school with lower academic standards. If you had done something, and if we were getting a charter school, that's a different story. So don't say that. You don't mean that. And almost feels like you're making $2.4 million out of our lower properties. So you're making money on our cost.
Sunil Singh.
Just out of curiosity, who is actually our council, city council district member? That's on Canmont Drive?
It's District 2.
It's District 2, it's Mr. Park, and he's absent tonight.
Why is he not here to represent our city, our district? How is a vote that heavily impacts his district, how is the member not actually even here? How does that make any sense? Mr. Mayor?
Chris?
Go ahead, Chris.
Mayor, I apologize, but this public comment is not a conversation.
Okay,
I mean,
well-
I'm glad to provide factual information as I can.
Well, factual information that you provided was actually incorrect when he said it was residential, and you said that it was that. So, I mean, your comments have very little meaning to any of us. The fact that, again, the way you guys are representing that, you said that it had to be made, decisions had to be made. Well, I mean, for $2.4 million, like if townhomes could have been built there or something else could have been placed there, that definitely helps, the neighborhood as it is right now. Go ahead and deciding for all of our kids that, hey, wait a minute, I'm sure like your kids are probably out of school already. You're not really worried about what district they're going to. So, I mean, you're making decisions for people that are not actually even in your district when our district member's not even here. That's collusion right there. If you guys want to be fair about it, the $2.4 million that you guys are saving, you should be, redistributing that to the people whose property values are going to be going down. If not, I say all of you guys probably have homes somewhere. How about we do a land swap so that way you guys can deal with the new school traffic? Probably not a good idea, is it? You don't want to deal with that traffic, do you? Didn't think so. Thanks.
Lizzie Stallman.
Lacey Stallman, Gardenside Court, Drew Valley. I'd like to piggyback on what Kim said about the importance of public education. As a former public school teacher myself, who taught in non-air, and it wasn't even in a trailer, in a non-air conditioned school, and it wasn't even overcrowded. I know the difficulty that teachers and students have, and I know the importance of alleviating overcrowded schools. As far as the time constraints, I think that was well explained, and if I'm correct, it was a state and county issue as far as the time limitations. I was the representative for Skyland Park last year and met with a group. I think Robert was in that group. Met with a group and talked about priorities for Skyland Park, after which everyone was invited to meet with Greenberg Farrow and talk about the plans. I was the only one that was able to make it. I was really, really, really impressed with their big picture vision, and I'm thrilled that where we've come from as far as the park goes, because I knew when I left there that we were going to be on the bottom of the barrel as far as getting any improvements to the park. And now we have a paid-for, smaller scale park that's got pretty much everything we want, less the tennis courts, but we have other parks with tennis courts. In fact, last year, I was fighting just to get unlocked porta potties at the park. That's how bad it was. So we've come a long way. And as far as property values going down, that remains to be seen. This is going to be a state-of-the-art school, and who knows by the time the doors open what the school population will be. But I guarantee you that there won't be as many trailers with kids who have to hold it because they can't use the restrooms and wind up with urinary tract infections. That's what's happening right now. So I'm 100% in favor of this, and thank you for your vote.
Matt Adis.
Matt 80s, 1856 Camont Drive. I'm just very disappointed that this had to be done so quickly and behind closed doors. None of us got to see your list of things that you required from the school or what you got from the school district. Has that been released? I don't think it has. That would be nice for the neighborhoods to know who are being directly impacted. The fact that he lied about the commercial versus residential is huge. He was trying to sway a vote by lying, saying that, a business is going to move in versus residential, which it is. A residential tract would have been put there. Nice homes would have been put there. That would have generated more money for the district. The $2.4 million, you're going to lose that over the course of 10 years as an exodus happens. People are going to move to other areas. They're going to go to Sarah Smith. They're going to move to other places where the schools are actually good and academically strong, instead of guessing and hoping that this school is going to be something in 3 years. 3 years is when my son will be in first grade. Am I going to risk his future on a school like Dresden or the other two schools that are moving in there where I wouldn't put my kids and you wouldn't put your kids? That's what you're asking us all to do, is to gamble on the fact that maybe this turns out, maybe it doesn't, but most likely it's going to be just like those same schools over there. It's going to be poor academic standards, poor kids, and poor things for the people that live there. And a choice that, okay, now I've got to go to private school and pay $25,000 a year. That's the choices you're making for us. It's sad. I've been here for 14 years in Brookhaven. I love the area. I wanted to stay. My wife and I, before this afternoon, a couple of nights ago, we decided with our neighborhoods and the great kids and families that are around us that we wanted to stay. And I'm putting my house on the market tomorrow because of this. So I know others are going to be doing that the same. Someone else can take the gamble, and so be it. We'll move out of Brookhaven and say goodbye. So thanks.
Rob Smith.
Thanks for letting us be heard again. I'm not here to roast anyone on the school and diversity. I'm pro-diversity. I talked to Kim for an hour a few months ago, and I went to public school growing up, and the funny thing is I'm pretty much a supporter of the idea of a school being built closer to my home. I can walk my kid to school. Not a lot of people have that. What I'm just really upset about is just the process here. I've been an advocate for Brookhaven since you all became a city. I've talked to a few councilmen about a lot of things. I've been a supporter in the area. I've volunteered to the parks director to help get people in our neighborhood to help clean up the park. I feel like I've been a good resident. I pay my taxes, and I just came up here and wanted to be heard tonight and suggest that we slow down. Even if it's Friday, that's better than 24 hours. It gets us a chance to rationalize and talk with people, and instead you have a bunch of pissed off people coming up here. So this was just handled very poorly, and I'm just going to have trouble getting on board with future discussions and initiatives and get on the city's side to sell it through to my neighbors, when knowing this is ultimately what's going to happen, is just coming here to not be heard. Councilman Jones, you made a point about saying that you had to keep this behind closed doors, this real estate transaction. I know the BIA discussion was a widely discussed topic. That was also a real estate transaction that came to vote and then went away, and I think that fell apart for other reasons it didn't really involve the community getting involved. But I think we made a choice there to keep it confidential. I understand a lot of the reasons why, but even a week's heads up would have been enough to rally community support. Second thing too is we have a park. We haven't been a nagging subject with you guys. You guys came to us and said, what do you want done with your park? And we responded. I know Leslie has done a lot of advocacy in this area, but we have a park. And the porta potties are great now. People use them. I mean, I necessarily wasn't needing a new park, and in fact, we're getting a smaller park, and we're losing our tennis courts. So please don't sell us on the fact that we're getting a new park. We already have one, and it's great. And if the trade-off was not being able to do anything for it for a few years or decreasing the budget that we have, I think that might have been okay. And in fact, you guys had all the leverage here. You said that you might ruin your leverage. You had the leverage. You had the land. They wanted it. You could have said no or delayed it. You could have pushed back to them and had more community involvement and forced them to put a smaller school in a smaller area. And like, I just don't understand why that wasn't considered or even discussed. That was actually the original proposal on the table from what I heard. I just think there were so many options, and like the other people said, I think the decision was already made. Like, why are we going through this? I'm not going to forecast real estate values. Like, I don't know if this is going to be good or bad, like, for our community. And again, like I said, the feeder patterns are outside of your control. But I feel like the things that you did have control of, you just threw away. And you asked us to come up here. Like, none of the plans were even communicated in the Brookhaven Post article this morning. I had to get the map from somewhere else. So, disappointed. Thank you.
Susanna Post.
Again, Susanna Post, 1850 Camont Drive. I agree with everything Rob just said. I really support, I went to DeKalb County Public Schools my whole life. I went to Druid Hills, and I support diversity. I support the schools. I support kids not being in trailers and not having urinary tract infections, obviously. But I think if we had even heard the proposal and what you were voting on before we commented, we could have had a lot more logical comments at this point. We were kind of commenting without even hearing what you guys were voting on, and that to me is ridiculous. I would really like, obviously I can't go backwards, but what I would have liked is for you to choose to propose things to the school and ask for things that actually impact what they're going to create. If you have the leverage, couldn't you say, we want to make sure that it's not this size school, that it pulls from this group, that we're not redistricting within the next however many years. I mean, if there's leverage, we should have used it. But at this point, what I would like, my question is, how do we impact what the school is going to be? Like, can we go to meetings somewhere else? Because obviously you're not making those decisions. So who is, and how can we impact that? And I'm a lawyer, and I'm a real estate attorney. Like, this stuff I know about, and I know that you could have had open discussions just because you don't have to. You could have. You just people didn't want our input. So now we want to make input. We want to go to these discussions, and we need to be able to have a voice in what kind of school is put there. So if anyone could give us guidance on that, we'd appreciate it.
Be involved. You guys should be there with us.
Yeah, please. That would be great. And John Park should also be there with us.
I do not have any more cards.
Okay, any other public comment? Hearing none, mayor's comments. I'm going to stay afterwards, so everyone who wants to discuss it with me, I will sit here as long as you guys want to discuss it. I'll sit here and discuss this whole thing. So please don't go, or you can go, you can stay, but you'll have an opportunity to talk to me about this deal. Any other comments from anyone else?
Mayor, may I have a moment?
Yes.
Let me apologize to council for my misinformation. I tried to do the zoning from memory, and I should never do that from memory. I'm glad that our community development director was here to correct my error. So I apologize to you for giving you bad information. That's not what I strive to accomplish as your city attorney. So allow me to apologize to each of you for that mistake.
Yeah. Is there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we don't need executive session. I'll take a motion.
Move to adjourn.
There's a second.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.